Hi, I'm Dr. Drew and welcome to my YouTube channel. This is a channel not on medicine, but on all the other aspects needed to live our medicine lives. Today, we're going to be talking about the banking function, what it is, why it's important, and how you can learn more about it. Because banks are the most profitable entity in the world, it is important to know the banking function, which is separate from the investment world. And if one wants to master their financial literacy, you need to spend some time understanding this concept. Essentially, the banks follow 5 principles that are outlined here called flow, leverage, collateral, velocity, and liquidity. And these are important concepts to understand. So what does flow mean? It's essentially the flow of money back into the banking system. So there's a reason why the banks love direct deposit, because they get to see your salary even before you get to see it after you have earned the money. And once the bank essentially has money flowing towards it, it is then able to loan that money out using a concept called velocity. And it pays its depositors 1%, but also receives an interest of 4 or 5 or whatever interest it charges to its borrowers. In addition to that, the banks also create a velocity by using something called a fractional reserve banking system that utilizes the concept of leverage. And leverage, we don't have to necessarily go into more detail on that, but it's essentially being able to create a debt essentially in order to keep the economy moving, in order to create innovation and creativity inside the capitalistic system. Now, banks do have to balance the judicious use of leverage to maintain adequate liquidity, proper collateral, and make wise investments. Otherwise, they run into the trouble, especially during bank runs, as we are seeing here currently, as recorded in March of 2023. Essentially, what happens in a bank run is if the depositors start withdrawing their money, then the difference between what is left in the bank and what has been lended out to the borrowers will not be able to be met due to the liquidity restrictions, and essentially the bank would become insolvent. Now, in these cases, organizations such as CDIC, Canadian Deposit Insurance Corporation in Canada, or the FDIC in the US, protect depositors for the amount of money that's left in the banking system. Now, the last concept we'll cover is collateral. As liquidity is a very important concept that I will do a separate video just on that particular concept. Collateral is essentially a concept very similar to secured debt rather than unsecured debt. The vast majority of assets for the bank include mortgages, and the reason for that is they essentially get anywhere between 5 to 20% as a down payment on the value of the home, and the 80% is lent out. And the bank essentially has a lien on your property should you be unable to pay the interest or pay the mortgage payments. They essentially are able to get the asset and then sell the asset to retrieve their capital, which is a important concept from the secured debt that we had talked about before. And for that reason, banks using these principles specifically of collateral, flow, velocity, and leverage, and liquidity have become the most profitable entity in the world. Liquidity especially is an important concept where basically you have access to capital, where you're able to capitalize on investments or opportunities without a lag, and essentially allows you to take advantage of the opportunity cost very, very fast. Now, why is this important to learn? Well, we live in a capitalistic world, and essentially money is used as a tool to meet our needs, our financial needs, as well as our various needs as described in the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We talked about this concept before of the food, finances, utilities, shelter, and education. And essentially, as humans, we need to provide those needs, and we use money as a tool and allow us to do that in this capitalistic world. And so how can one learn the banking function? Well, you can learn it from books. Your everyday life, your day-to-day life is learning about the banking function, although you may not know the intricacies and the details. Just like driving your car, you may not know all the intricacies of the car, but you do use it. But it's important to know from time to time how to do simple things like, change your oil in the car and things like that. So similar to that in the banking world, It's important to know these concepts. You can imagine that the things that are not covered here is return on investment, because the bank simply doesn't use those visionary principles to do that. They use other principles like flow and velocity to be able to do that. They also don't talk about the effect of fees on investments, because essentially it's a form of income to the banking system. And again, it's not something that they focus on, because they know that these principles allow them to earn a profit. And so in conclusion, banking function uses these principles. It's important to know them. It's important to know how you can incorporate these into your own lives, into your family's financial lives. And a number of books have been written on this, such as The Case for Infinite Banking Concept, which is a positive aspect of the banking function, although a dry read. But other aspects, such as Pirates of Manhattan, is also another book, although it covers more on the negative aspect of the banking function. So on that note, a few action items. If you'd like to follow the exact frameworks used by affluent physicians to take back control of their time and money, then check out the links in the description below. I make these videos because I'm passionate about fighting burnout in 10,000 physicians. And the way I do that is by creating these videos and leaving it as a legacy. Come and join my community of like-minded physicians in my free Facebook group, where we share cheat sheets, resources, and everything in between to live our best medicine lives. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you for taking care of your patients, and I'll see you in the next episode.